Audio's going live. Hello and welcome to Troy Cares episode number 9, guys. It's been a great ride up to this far. We've had some amazing guests. Of course, last week or Monday's guest unfortunately had to had something come up at the last minute. Unfortunately, those things happen, especially in his line of work. But we got him actually rescheduled, guys, for next Wednesday. So he will be coming back on. He's excited about coming back on. He wishes he could have made it, on Monday, but we've got him rescheduled. So make sure you join next Wednesday to hear Chris give us the updates on graduation and everything else that's been going on with the city, or with the schools, I should say. So tonight, guys, here on Troy Cares, we got another great guest, guys. Like we continue to do, we continue to showcase the different people that are doing stuff in and around the community, both on the front lines, behind, and everything else around. Tonight is no exception to that. She has a great organization that she's part of she's chair of, and she's going to share some exciting things they've been doing, some exciting things that are coming up, and just a little bit about the organization. So we're going to get her brought in here, guys, and let me see here. Okay. We are going to bring in tonight with us, we're going to have Aimee, who is the chair for the Food of Insecurity Committee. So we're going to bring her in now. And welcome to the program, Aimee. How are you doing?
I'm great, thank you. Appreciate being here.
Good, good, good. So I was just kind of filling everybody in a little bit about, all the great guests we've had up here so far. And I know we talked and you said you'd seen some of the other past programs and things. And we're excited to hear more about your program and your committee and everything you do. But before we get too far into kind of what's going on, take us back to the beginning. How does the Food Insecurity Committee really form? How did something like that come up?
Well, it really started with one person, Alicia Barton. And Alicia is let me make sure I get her title right, the Family and Consumer Sciences Educator through the OSU Extension Office in Miami County here. And so part of her role was to kind of assess what's going on with food, with people being hungry, those kind of things within the community. So she went to the local food council to say, we've got an issue here in Miami County. What can we do? And that kind of started the ball rolling with looking at, we need to have some sort of committee to address these things. And around the same time, Health Partners Free Clinic, which is where I work, we were doing some studies with Wright State University nursing students. And we had these nursing students going out in the community and talking with people and trying to find out what's the community's perception of things that can be done. And it was for Health Partners to kind of see where could we fit in, what could we be doing. But two issues kept coming up consistently. One was food, and the other one was transportation. And with those issues coming up, we were recognizing we really needed to get involved with the food aspect too. Food is medicine, food is health. We really felt like it was important on our end as well. And so we were able to connect with Alicia as well. And through all of that, the Miami County Food Insecurity Committee kind of was born. And it started in 2018, mid to late 2018, when we first started having meetings. We have representatives on this committee from over 40 agencies in Miami County. We have some folks from different industries. We also have some concerned citizens who have heard about us, read articles or have seen things that we're doing, and they are involved and become a part of this as well. So it's just something that grew out of one person initially, her start of, we need to be looking at this and figuring some things out.
Now,
So, yeah.
is this a unique thing to Troy, or is there other organizations similar to this out there?
There's lots of organizations like this. There's lots of food insecurity issues. Food insecurity is becoming a recognized issue around the country as being a problem for a lot of folks. I think I've got some numbers for you. In 2017, in Ohio, 14.5% of people were considered food insecure. And what food insecure is the state of being without reliable access to sufficient quantities of affordable and nutritious food. So 14.5% and 19.6% of all children in Ohio were considered to be food insecure. Now, in Miami County, we're better than the overall, looking at Ohio, we have 11.8% of people in Miami County are considered food insecure and 17.4% of children. But that's 12,320 people and 4,190 children in Miami County who don't have access to reasonable, affordable, and nutritious food. So that's a huge number. And I think we don't realize that here in Miami County, we really do have a lot of people that need this help and need this some way to be able to access food that is good. So it's come from all of that and looking at those numbers and realizing that we have to do something. We have to try to get to the point where, we would like to see Miami County be zero. And it's something that's all over, and there's, lots of places. We actually spent some time in Columbus with some of the programs that were there to learn about what they were doing to kind of help us get some ideas of what to do next. So it's definitely out there, and it's definitely a problem.
So that's interesting. It's not just that they don't have food, but they don't really have adequate nutritious food. Let's go there, I guess.
Absolutely. Yeah, and it's interesting. Troy has a large food desert. The entire northeast area of town is considered a food desert. And the reason being is that there's not access to food within walking distance. And if you consider there's no grocery stores up there. Now, people can go to the gas station or to the dollar store, and there is definitely food there. But you're going to be paying $4 for a loaf of bread. You're going to be paying gosh knows how much for a gallon of milk. And then they don't have a lot of the produce type of things and those things. So that's considered a food desert, which is important. It's something we really need to be addressing and finding a way to get some access up there closer to people that need it. And that's a lot of times it's folks that are elderly who can't drive, maybe folks with some developmental disabilities or other issues going on that they can't drive and can't necessarily walk very far either. So we've definitely got an issue within this community with that.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. So it's more than just the people that I guess that necessarily can't afford it. Like you said, it's the elderly who really just can't get out and get it, honestly, too.
Right. Yep. We actually had a call today that they went through Shared Harvest, was our main food bank. And they're an elderly couple that are living in that area. And because of the quarantine right now and with everybody being at home, the people that would normally take them to the grocery can't. And so they're stuck. They have no food. And no one to get them any place. Now they have the funds for food, but they have no way to get any place to get to the food. So trying to make those connections and helping people make sure that they can get where they need to get.
Yeah, when you talk about making those connections, how do you guys find it? Do these usually find you, or I mean, how does that come about?
Yeah, that's one of the hard things. It's stressful for us to think of all the people that we're not getting to. Worried about the people that aren't able to access our services and know that we're out there. So it's one of the reasons we're really trying to put as much information out as we can. But it's a lot of times folks that are working with different agencies, which is why with this committee coming together with all these different agencies, we're able to really coordinate. Today's example with this family, I contacted First Place Food Pantry. They put together food for them, and then the Troy Police Department delivered it. So able to use these different agencies that are out there, and we all can kind of come together and help folks out. So it's a matter of, word of mouth is huge for us. We do try to make sure that we're in the newspapers and things like that to let people know about distributions and things that we're up to.
Now, do you is it something that is usually a short-term helping, or are many of these families rely on it for a long term?
A lot, it's a combination. There's some families that they're just going to need the help long term, especially if you have developmentally delayed adults and seniors. A lot of seniors, they get $800-900 a month in Social Security, and then they get $16 in food stamps. That's not going to get you very far. And with only having $700-800 in income, and they have to pay their rent and their utilities, etc., it's not going to work. And that's not a situation that's going to change. So yes, having access through the different food pantries through us to be able to get to food is critical for these folks to be able to get through. There's also one of the things that we found with our recent distributions is a lot of folks that were put out of their jobs right now and not able to get unemployment. So it's very short term. And, they only want to come the once or twice that they absolutely need to. And they're not looking to continue to use the services, but they definitely need them for the moment.
Absolutely. And that's good that you guys are there when they need it, and it's that's good. So take us into the distribution processes like this. How do these work? What's it like? Paint the picture for us.
These mass distributions are really interesting. It's something that started in 2019 here in Miami County. Now, distributions like this happen throughout the country, all over the place. But Mike Sullivan, who's on the board for Shared Harvest, and I'll give you that too. Shared Harvest is the food bank that serves Miami County. So all of our food pantries and different programs that are out there access food through Shared Harvest. So they're the ones then that bring the food for our mass distributions. So Mike had contacted them and said, we really need to have one in Miami County. So the first one was in June of 2018, or 2019, I'm sorry. And that one served 45 families. And they were very excited by that. First time out, not a lot of public, notice about it, a lot of people knowing. So pretty happy that there was 45 families that we were able to serve too. But then the committee got involved. We really ramped up making sure people were aware. We do a lot of notifications, a lot of information. And so we've had several more since. And in 2019, we had 4 more. And the max that we served was 269 households. So in January, we served 248 households. In February, we served 301. And that was our top. And we were all beyond exhausted, first off. Then we were also really excited with that number that we served 301 families. And that's a lot in Aimee County. We're really happy to have that number. But then COVID hit, and we knew that was going to really change things. So in March, we knew we were going to need more food, and we asked for about 3 times as much. So we had about 900 to 1,000, and we actually served 927 households. And we ran out of food before the line was done, and that is heartbreaking for all of us. So we made sure in April we had more, and in April we served about 1,300 households. Wow. And we're having another one coming up in May. But the way these distributions work is Shared Harvest literally brings us trucks of food. And up until COVID, it was volunteers. We would have volunteers that unloaded the food. We would then get the information from folks that we needed, which is basically address and how many people in the household. And then we would load their car up and give them the amount of food that would be appropriate for their families. Now, once COVID hit and there was the state of emergency declared, the National Guard got involved with food pantries to help with distributions. And so the National Guard's been working with Shared Harvest and packing up boxes and having things all ready. And so they come up with these distributions. So they do all the hard work. They do the unloading. They do the loading into people's cars, but still trying to gather a little bit of information. But we're pretty much just looking at households right now because we're looking at making these no touch. So we don't pass a pin back and forth for anything to be signed. And we don't have any, we were working on iPads for a little while, so we're not passing those back and forth. We're just doing, how many households in each car, because that's the other interesting thing is neighbors will come together. So we might have 4 households in one car because 3 or 4 neighbors all come together. And so we'll load up that many households in each car. And so we are trying to make it a no touch so that it's as safe as possible. The guards all wearing masks, we're wearing masks, and just trying to make sure that we're not going to be passing anything else other than food on to people. So they get a box of staples, and that might include rice and beans and canned vegetables and fruits. Usually it's shelf-stable milk, some sort of cereals, all kinds of things. But it's a 45-pound box of food that is all shelf-stable. Plus, then they'll get frozen meat, between 10 and 20 pounds of frozen meat, which can include chickens and pork roasts and patties and different things. And then anything produce-wise that we're able to get our hands on, we're also making sure that that's getting out there. So, and that's one of our goals with the Food Insecurity Committee is to try to give healthy food. We're trying to really look at foods that are going to give the best nutrition to folks, but also be filling. And so we were really focused in on a lot of produce and those kind of things. Right now, we're mostly focused with just making sure people's bellies are filled. So we're taking whatever Shared Harvest has to offer right now to be able to get it to folks. So our next one coming up is on May 16th, so next Saturday. We're doing them at Upper Valley Career Center, which has been fantastic because they've got a ton of space. This last one in April, we had over 300 cars lined up well before we started, which was supposed to be at 12. This was probably at 10 o'clock. We had about 300 cars. So we started about 10:30, 10:45, because there's, once the guard's there and unloaded, there's no reason not to go ahead and start. But there's folks that are getting there at 7:30, 8 o'clock because they want to make sure that they're going to be in line to be able to get food. So we're trying to get them through. The Career Center has a great parking area for us. We're kind of wrapping around the building and wrap through some parking lots, trying to keep people off the street as much as we can. But it's incredible and it's amazing. And then the other piece we've been doing with this because of COVID is we do have those folks that are just scared to come out or can't come out. And so we've been doing some deliveries as well, particularly for elderly or people who are disabled. And this past time we had 65. So that takes volunteers as well. And we will have the volunteers come early. We load their cars up and then they go out to deliver this. And part of those delivery crew has been the Miami County Sheriff's Department. and they have been absolutely incredible with us through all of this. They're delivering for different pantries as well throughout the weeks, but then they're at each of our things just ready to jump in and help with whatever they can. So they have been incredible too.
About how many volunteers work one of these events? Like between your, National Guard and everybody, about how many people you got out there?
Well, the last time we had about 55 National Guards plus about 10 other people. And it does take about 60 people or so now with the amount that we're looking at. And that's one of our big concerns is once the state of emergency ends and National Guard is no longer a part of this, we're going to need a lot of volunteers because the need's not going to end.
Right.
We're very concerned that when everything kind of comes to an end here and people do start getting their income back, but landlords are going to be wanting their rent, and some may have been putting off any kind of evictions and those kind of things, which is great, but they may start doing those again as soon as they're able to. And if people have not been able to pay their rent or their mortgages, we're concerned we're going to see an uptick in some homelessness or people that are living on the edge. And so we really don't think our need is going to go down for a while. We think it's probably going to continue to go up. And that's a concern then for having enough volunteers to be out there to help us being able to get this food to folks. We've been really studying how the Guard does it because they are a finely oiled machine. They are fantastic. And they have whistles. And so we have bought whistles because we're going to be on it. We just want to make sure that we're getting, things going as well as they do. And they're able to serve they do 10 cars at once, and they can serve that many people in less than 2 minutes. And so we've got a lot to work towards, but we're going to at least make sure people have food. It might take us a little bit longer, but they're going to have food. But yeah, we'll always be needing volunteers. So that's something we're always open to, folks and groups that want to work with us and volunteer. That's something that folks can get in touch with me with, and we'll get them set up for that.
Excellent, excellent. So you say you have the Guard through the state of emergency. Have you heard when that might end? Do you have a clue on that?
No, we know we have them for this month, but then we don't know after that. We're just going month to month right now.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay. Well, like you said, they are a fine oil tube machine. If you watch them, they have it down.
They're amazing. And they have been so gracious and kind with our folks. They've treated everybody with so much respect and so much. And every time we have one of these distributions, we have folks that run out of gas or we have folks that batteries die because they get there so early and they're waiting. And some of these have been in horrible weather. And, the Guardsmen are right there trying to jump cars, and we bring gas and we'll fill up tanks if need be. And doing those kinds of things too that, they don't have to, but they do. And they've been really great with us. And so we've appreciated that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I guess one of the big questions is, have you guys had trouble getting food? Has it, we hear about obviously these meat shortages and things coming up. Have you guys had trouble getting the food needed for this?
At this point, no. Shared Harvest is able to work with, all of the national places, and food is still coming in through to them. And we've been getting the food before. It was, access to the food is there. Our pantries are all pretty well stocked, and if folks are working with Shared Harvest, they're going to do their best to keep them stocked. Shared Harvest is amazing. They are working with us I work at Health Partners Free Clinic, and we're working at creating a diabetic-friendly pantry. So they're working with us to just, some good diabetic-friendly foods, because a lot of what you get at pantries and soup kitchens and those kind of things aren't diabetic-friendly. So we're trying to give people some options with that, and they're working with us on making that happen. And so they'll work with anybody up here. But the food seems to be there right now. It's just a matter of getting it where it needs to get and having the programs that are out there to get it to the people and get it in the right people's hands.
Absolutely, absolutely. So for this one coming up here on the 16th, correct?
Yes.
How many are you planning on? What are you guys' projection on this one?
We're looking at least 1,500.
Wow.
But if they have it, Shared Harvest will probably bring us maybe closer to 17. Just so that way we don't want to run out again. That's one of the most devastating things for all of us when we're volunteering and working with this, is to run out of food. Now, we try to make arrangements with those folks that are still in line to get them food later that week, but it's still hard for them too. If they've been waiting in line and then get that disappointment, it's frustrating. So we'll overshoot rather than undershoot to try to make sure we've got enough food. But we're going to definitely have at least 1,500. So we should be pretty well prepared. I'm hoping to meet everybody's needs. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. So obviously I'm hearing you encourage, if they do want to get involved in this, they probably should be there even earlier, not necessarily at the time of.
Yeah, no earlier than 10. I think honestly, because I hate seeing people have to wait for so long. We're not going to be able to get started until getting closer to 11. But yeah, I understand why folks get in line early to make sure. So, but like this last one, we had folks that were coming in at 1 and they literally just drove straight up because we had gotten through the whole line at that point. And so they were able to come straight through, and we had plenty of food. So that's the goal too, is that we will always have plenty of food. As long as you get there before 2 o'clock, we're there with the food. That's what we shoot for. So, and it can be hard. It can be hard to judge.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we were talking on before we went on the air, and you said it's with the National Guard's literally a convoy of people and crew that literally come down the interstate to you guys.
Yes. They're coming from Fairfield, which is where Shared Harvest is based. So they come up with all their trucks, and if they're bringing 60 some odd people, plus then all the food and the equipment to unload, so they've got their different forklifts and different things. It's an amazing convoy, and we've had a couple folks that just come just to watch the National Guard. A couple of sheriffs, that was part of what they were enjoying, was going around and seeing all the different vehicles. They have a huge frozen truck that they can bring. I mean, just all kinds of stuff. They have lots of neat toys. So yeah. And then this past time we had K&J's Ice Cream from Sydney. They apparently know somebody in the National Guards. They knew this was going on. So they showed up with ice cream for the Guard members. We had no idea that was going to happen. It's just, you see those good things within the community of people helping each other, and it's just awesome.
Absolutely, absolutely. So going back to once you kind of lose the Guard, that is big shoes to fill. We got to figure out how you're going to get these forklifts and these big frozen trucks and things and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got a lot of work ahead of us with all of that. And then the mass distributions is just one piece of what we're doing with the Food and Security Committee. We're also looking at community gardens and wanting to get some, a good network of community gardens going and working with those. We do a lot of coordinating food availability. So our pantries, we've in Miami County, we've always had a lot of programs. We've had a lot of great food pantries and programs that are working, but they've all been kind of siloed. They're their own things, their own groups that are out there. And so part of our committee is bringing everybody together. Meyer Distribution, when they have excess food, they provide it to Needy Basket, which is in Tip City. In the past, Needy Basket, if they couldn't give it all out, it would end up just being trashed because they didn't have any place else, anything else to do with it. Now they send out the call to our whole committee, and we can go and pick up some of that. So this past summer, they had a whole bunch of the Dannon yogurt drinks, and they literally had pallets full. And all of the summer programs that work for kids, all of them were able to get there, get some of that, and then the kids had that throughout the whole summer. So it was a way to make sure, we're trying to make sure that we're coordinating amongst all of these groups so that food is getting to everybody and we're having as little waste as possible. So that's another piece that we're really working on. We are also working on a community food assessment to kind of really look at what are all the issues, what do we need to be doing? But unfortunately, because of everything with COVID, we've kind of put that on hold because we don't know what things are going to look like after this. So we're waiting to see, but we're ready to take on the challenges, whatever they're going to be at that point, and see what we can do to be helping.
Sure. And I'm sure you've seen, obviously, not just a big demand because of COVID, but the other effects of COVID, which are kids being home more, right? So kids are eating more. They're not eating those school lunches now and such like that.
Absolutely. That's a definite big issue for folks. There's people that would eat out once or twice a week that they can't right now because they're not wanting to go out, which is great. They shouldn't. But yeah, that means more food needed in the home. And sometimes it's tough. And there's shortages in the grocery of different things. And so it can be really tough for folks.
Absolutely. Yep. Absolutely. Well, it's just great that, we continue to talk on this program about how people from the community, different organizations and different people really come together when when it's most needed. And it sounds like it's right here with you with the ice cream coming in for the guardsmen and people just stepping up. So I'm sure it's not going to be any different. I'm sure you're going to have your own army, coming on this show and asking for your volunteers. That's what this community is about, and I'm sure you're going to get the help you need. We just got to figure out how we're going to recreate the National Guard.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. But yeah, that's very true. Troy, Miami County in general, there's a lot of really amazing programs and people that always do step up, and it's really kind of amazing. There's many times we sit back and watch things happen, and it's like, wow, that just was incredible the way that all worked out. And the right people getting involved in the right things at the right times to help with different things. So we definitely we're very blessed in this community with all the support and all of the groups that are out there and helping. And it's a good place to be. I've told many a person, you've landed in the right place, because in Miami County, you're going to get the help you need. So we'll get you, going and on the right track. And there's a lot of really good programs, and we're really grateful to be a part of that and to see that in action, for sure.
Absolutely, absolutely. So a couple more questions for you, but before I do, I want to throw it out there to anybody who has questions for Aimee. Start firing them in here in the group, in the chat here, in the chat window. Elizabeth will be glad to get those out, and we'll get them asked for you. So go ahead and start firing those. What's your day look like, now going forward? We're kind of doing the new normal, if we will, right? We're kind of reopening and this kind of thing. How does your days look like going into this, as far as your hours and this kind of stuff? Has that changed since COVID-19? And
Not really. With this committee, we're kind of on call all the time.
Okay.
I took a phone call last night at 10 o'clock about some folks that needed some food as well. So it's something that we're always out there trying to make sure things happen. So that's pretty much the same, and I think it'll continue that way. This committee, we still have not gotten a 501c3 or anything of that nature, because we're kind of holding to see what we needed to do. It clearly is something that's going to need to happen. Mm-hmm. So this committee is going to be going forward to become its own nonprofit. Okay. But right now, like, I work for Health Partners Free Clinic. Alicia, who is our advisor for the committee, is with OSU Extension. And then we've got these folks from all these different agencies that have been amazing. They're all just doing this as a part of their own jobs, and then wanting to be involved in it, seeing the issues. So, and it's great because we've brought in folks, like we have folks from the Family Abuse Center, and we have folks from all these different counseling programs and places that you wouldn't normally think, but they see it. They hear people talking about hunger. The Family Abuse Shelter, they're setting folks up into their own places, and they need to make sure they've got food. And so we're finding ways that we're bringing in everybody that wouldn't normally be involved with food, but they deal with it. So it's another great way to get us all connected and making sure the needs are met.
Yeah, it sounds like you guys really were that missing piece of the puzzle, if you will, that was really needed.
Yeah, just putting out those links and kind of getting us all pulled together, and it's been awesome.
Absolutely, absolutely. So what is your guys' biggest need right now? We're talking to the community right now. We're here. They're out here. They're listening. What's your guys' need? Is it volunteers? Is it food? What do you guys need? What's your biggest needs?
Our biggest thing's going to be volunteers right now. At some point, we're also going to be looking at needing funding and some help with that, especially with gardens, because it's amazing to me how expensive it can be to start a garden. But just getting raised beds built and those kinds of things put together. But volunteers to help with our mass distributions, volunteers to help with planning gardens and figuring some of these things out. I am actually like the ultimate black thumb, so I'm staying away from the gardens because they will not grow if I'm anywhere near them. So we've got other folks that we know we need to be pulling in. We're hoping that through OSU Extension, we're going to be able to actually hire a coordinator for these gardens. But again, COVID jumped in, so we're not quite sure where that's going to go. But we're going to try to, get several things going. So we need people's ideas. We need their involvement and engagement, and definitely need volunteers.
Where do you foresee these gardens happening at? Do you guys have a place you think it's going to be built at?
The first one's going to be behind Health Partners Free Clinic. We actually have a couple acres of land behind us, but we're going to start small with just a few container gardens of the raised beds, and just kind of see how it goes and work that in with our patients in particular. We deal with a lot of folks who are diabetic, and then obviously that are dealing with some food issues. And so the goal is to kind of connect that and see how we do with that and how that goes, and then get it expanded and into other people's hands, and get gardens throughout the community. And I'd like to see them in some of these smaller communities out in Bradford and out in West Milton, as well as in some of these areas. Some of those areas, they struggle further because there's not a lot of resources that are out there. So we want to try to get some of these things everywhere.
Absolutely, absolutely. And, you bring up a good point. There's plenty of people out there that I know are green thumbs. I'm with Aimee. I'm a black thumb, too. I pull a flower, think it's a weed. My wife will tell you that. But there's plenty of people out there that love this and are really good at it. And we need those people to come in and help Aimee and her crew so we can get these gardens going.
It's just not a good thing. Yes.
Well, perfect. Let's go to questions. Do we have any questions, Elizabeth?
Kelly Snyder from the Rec had a comment and a question. Her first comment was in regards to your yogurt comment that you made from last summer. She said that the Rec kids love the yogurt, so thank you for that.
Yes.
And then she also asked, how do you become involved in the Food Insecurity Committee?
Yes. So we meet once a month, and right now we're doing it virtually because of all of this. We're meeting on the second Tuesday of each month at 11:30 a.m. So because we're doing this virtually right now, if people want to email me, and we could probably put up my email, it might be easier because it's a long one, but it's Aimee Shannon at healthpartnersclinic.org. And then we'll get you on our email list so that you can, find out when meetings are, come involved at those. I also have a group of people that we just send out information about the pop-up, the pantries, so that way they know when those are, and if they want to volunteer, they can do so. So, yeah, great.
Absolutely, absolutely. And one more time, too, just go over the details for the one that's going to be coming up on the 16th.
Yes, it's May 16th, and so that's next Saturday. We'll be at Upper Valley Career Center. We actually are stationed at the adult division building, but then we have people wrapped all the way around that other building and behind them and all that. But we have signs up, and folks will kind of lead you into the line and as we get it going. It starts at noon, technically, but we should have food unloaded and ready to go by about 10:45 to 11. So we'll probably start around then. At this point, again, we do not need any information from people. We do not take IDs. We do not take any other information. We just need to know households, how many households that we're looking at. And that's because of, with all the COVID business right now, we have the USDA has allowed that to happen where we don't have to gather all this identifying information we normally do. That's going to be the other piece, is when we go back to that, we actually have to get, people's names and addresses and how many people in the household and more details, so it takes a little bit longer to do that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, perfect, perfect. So for this one, it's just pull up, basically. You said, pop your trunk, you'll put it in, no touch, and move on.
Yes, absolutely. We won't have any contact. Everybody wears a mask, and then the gloves, the guards wearing gloves. But the only thing they'll be touching is your boxes of food as they load them in. So, yep. We try to make it as safe as possible and respecting this whole virus.
That is amazing, and it's really a sight to see.
It is.
The whole process. It really is, and at the same time, it's heartwarming to see that many people need help, and help is there from yourself, your committee, and the guard. I mean, it's just it really does. It really does. We really appreciate everything you're doing, for sure.
Yeah, we appreciate it. And Kelly, who wrote that, she's one of our very valued members. She's always out there helping. She's fantastic.
Kelly's great.
She's really working to make sure the kids in Troy are fed. She's doing a lot through the rec. So.
Yes, she is. We had her on a couple weeks ago, and
awesome.
Wow, the things that she does down there at the rec, even before COVID-19, but even more so now, she's amazing. Again, another awesome organization we have here in Troy that we're lucky to have right here in Troy.
Yes, absolutely. Yep, absolutely.
And I keep saying all the time, and not only is the organization's great, but yourself and Aimee and all the other ones, Kelly and all them, having the right people in these organizations. The organization can be the organization, but without the right people in there to do it, it's just that. But
doesn't matter, yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna throw out a name because I love this.
Sure.
One of our drivers for our elderly folks, before COVID, he actually picked up some people to bring them, and then he took them out to lunch and then brought them back. And these were 3 women that live in poverty and kind of struggle, but he just got on with them and thought they were great and took them to lunch. And then now he's been doing deliveries, and that's Bobby Phillips, who's on our city county commission.
Yeah.
So he's very engaged in helping with this as well. I go and talk to the city commission oftentimes and explain to them what we're doing and what's going on, and he's gotten very engaged, and it's awesome. It's great to see.
Absolutely. Full support, again, not only from the community, but the city officials, and again, everybody coming together. It's how it works here in Troy. It really is, and it's how we get through this.
Absolutely.
All righty. Well, we appreciate everything that you and your organization's doing.
Thank you.
Keep it up.
And we really appreciate you guys putting this kind of stuff out there and making sure people are aware of what all we do have to offer in this community. It's amazing.
Absolutely. It's important. It really is that we can, help get that message out, again, on the 16th there in Piqua. Make sure that they're there, and you'll have plenty of food for them.
Yep, absolutely.
All righty. Thank you very much. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Bye now. All right, guys. So another great interview. Aimee and her whole committee and what they're doing out there, guys, is amazing. If you haven't seen it, it's really something to see. I mean, when you talk about 1,000 to 1,500 people needing food, and they having enough food to feed that many people, it is really something. And when she talks about, the National Guard, they're a fine oil-tuned machine. Obviously, they're used to doing this. They do it well. They have the machinery to do it. They have the manpower to do it. But again, once that goes away, the need's still there. So even though, they're not there, the need's there. So you're still going to be needing to feed these 1,000 people, 1,500, whatever it ends up being. So I encourage you, if you have the time and you can, reach out to Aimee at the committee there and, help her out, because they're definitely going to need to fill some big shoes there once the state of emergency goes away, which could possibly be next month. So, if you have time and you're looking for somewhere to volunteer, that is a great place to do so. All right, guys. So, again, guys, another great one. We have on Monday, we actually have Justin Kobe, the executive director for Health Partners Free Clinic. Is actually Aimee's boss, as she was saying before I talked to her. So that will be a good one. He'll give us the rundown on all the different services they have there for the community. And I'm sure have a bunch of information for us on going forward too with the COVID-19 and how they might be able to handle testing and things of that nature. So that will definitely be good on Monday. And then on Wednesday, again, next Wednesday, we're going to have Chris Piper back, who, like I said, was supposed to be on Monday, but he had something come up at the last minute. But we got him scheduled, and he's excited to be back on here next Wednesday to give us updates on everything that the schools have been doing and are doing with graduation and everything else. So you'll want to make sure to join us both Monday and Wednesday. Great shows coming up, okay, guys? So as always, guys, stay home, stay safe. Get out when you can. Check on your neighbors when you can. But the most important thing is stay safe, and let's get through this together, okay, guys? So till next time, this is Troy Cares. We'll talk to you soon.